Hello, good viber. How are you doing today? Hopefully, you can hear me. And yeah, the audio is okay. If it's not so bad, too sad, we'll try again next time, my friend. But this is what we have, and this is what we're working with. I'm speaking like a little bit louder. Like if you were sitting right next to me, you'd be like, Esther, why are you yelling? But I feel like to make sure that the audio is getting picked up, this is what we're gonna have to do in here. Anyways, we're gonna be talking about boundaries, setting boundaries with our energy, the spiritual practice of setting boundaries. And it's actually been something I wanted to be real with you. I have struggled with a lot. And it really comes down to this idea of saying no, because when you say no, you are saying, do not go any further. And a lot of the times when you say no, you know, people will be like, I've literally had people be like, so you're not good vibe. Like, you're not a good vibe, because why are you saying no? Aren't you supposed to say yes to everything the universe has to offer you? No. No, absolutely not. And, alright, so that painted a beautiful picture. So now that we have that, yeah, I just wanted to go live. I wanted to share a little bit about setting boundaries, the importance of it, not just with your personal space and time and energy, which is absolutely very, very important, but really what that has in terms of the potential of manifestation. Um, I think for a while I was in a position where I could just say yes, like yes, 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 because you know what? God is good. I had so much to say yes to, and I wasn't really bothered by energy vampires. It wasn't really something that um that I felt too concerned with, because I was like, I'm a well of overflowing energy in my cup. God has given me so much. So obviously, I'm not like worried about, what maybe others are asking for, because I just had the energy to pour into them. And I thought to myself, well, this is like one of the greatest gifts ever, that I have the ability to pour my energy into others. And I think that for anybody who's in a position where they can give some energy to somebody who might not have a full cup, do it. Because you know what? Drink up. It's beautiful. But now I'm at a point where I really am pouring more into my own cup, and I'm understanding how that energy flows through. Because what happened in my story was a lot of different people asking for different things, and me saying yes because I felt like that was the ultimate sign of abundance. And it was a joy and pleasure to give what I could. Until one day I realized a lot of what I was given, they already had enough. And so their cup was already overflowing, and it wasn't actually going towards them or anything. And that was a big wake up call. It was really just, the essence was they were trying to empty my cup, not because they needed anything, because their cup, in a way, was kind of like broken, and it was all pouring out, and they were just trying to empty my cup so that I could be as empty as them. And so that was kind of energy that I really dealt with for a few years, and I feel a bit ashamed at um just the way I really treated myself and my own energy. And it's something that I am thankful for. The experience is painful and as bitter as the water tasted and the experience was, because it really gave me a valuable lesson about setting boundaries and knowing how to say no, and why saying no is so important, especially when it comes to your time and your energy. So, as some of you may know, I'm working part time, and my supervisor has been asking me if I'm going to be working more hours. I think these are the subtle ways that I'll notice, and I'll dive into a few different. We're gonna jump into 3 different sections in this video, even though it's kind of a rant, and I appreciate you for just tuning in and bearing with me as I like collect my thoughts around this. We're gonna talk a little bit about the mind, and what's coming to mind when I say mind are actually the words that you are saying. So we'll talk about the mind. That looks like a coffee peanut, or anyways. Then we'll talk about the body. This one I think is pretty self-explanatory, but we're actually going to talk about addiction when it comes to really some of the things that find hard to control with our body. And I think addiction is a really big one when it comes to boundaries, especially setting them for ourselves. And lastly, we'll talk about the soul. So we'll talk about, just generally speaking, the deeper understanding of the boundaries and really how the energy works. You know, what happens when you say no to your aura? What happens when you say yes? What and how does that alter your manifestation timeline and what it is you're here to experience? So that's what we're going to be talking about in this little live stream of consciousness. So bear with me and let's just get into it. So I think the mind is a really great place to start, because of, obviously, it's just beautiful. Like, you know, the mind is great. And when I'm talking about this, I want to start off with some signs. What's up, Jamin? Of mentally, and we're going to talk about like actual words. So when it comes to boundaries, words are actually really important. This is connected to our throat chakra and our solar plexus. So keep in mind these energy centers, they're going to be really important. We're going to talk about them. It's important to know that when we look at somebody that's wanting to, let's just say, penetrate your aura, which means they're testing your boundaries, it might start off with communication. That's usually the first thing, all right? Or you might get an inkling of what's going on. And hey, we all are here. There's so many people in the world, so many beings. We're all here to test each other's boundaries and really understand how to respect each other's boundaries, knowing that at the end of the day, I don't know, I'm going to be hopping around here. The soul is so important, and it's just a big reflection. Everyone that you meet and the experiences that you have, so important to your development for your soul's mission. So, yeah, with that being said, communication. It's going to be the first sign of probably somebody testing your boundaries. And it could be something very small, but you're going to want to go with the vibe of how you feel. So I'll give an example. Working this part-time job has been really cool, and I really appreciate it. But as I said, they started to ask a few questions. Now, I don't really share this very much, but I don't work on Sundays for religious reasons. I believe it's a day of rest, and you should always have like a day where you don't do anything. It's been something, I guess, I feel so thankful. It's like a tradition in my family and something that I pray and I'm excited and look forward to continue to do for the rest of my days. And you know, that was something that in other jobs as well, you know, they would ask me if I would want to work on Sunday, and I'll make it very clear, if I'm going in an interview, I do not work on Sundays. So when the supervisor's like, hey, can you cover somebody this Sunday, I gotta be like, no. Yeah, it's pretty small, very tiny, but these are really important things for your boundaries and why it's so important to say no. I talked a lot to, you know, some female founders, female friends, and we talked a lot about the difference maybe in genders when it comes to saying no, and just the energy around it, and how a lot of the times females are more scared and nervous to say no than males for whatever reason. I mean, hey guys, feel free to share your suggestions in the comments, but I think it's quite obvious that the feminine side is more like accepting as to whatever happens. And that's the nature of the divine feminine. It is like a receptive kind of mode. It's not denying anything. It's not pushing back, it's not resisting. It's simply surrendering and accepting the will that is, and the divine masculine. And so energetically, I guess we can see that play out in society. And this was something I remember talking to a soul sister about, and she just noted like the the fear of initially just saying no to anyone or anything, even if we know deep in our heart, and again with that whole like the vibes, how you feel when somebody says something that is kind of pushing against your aura. So you could literally see this is the aura and this is their question. And right here at that point is pretty much where we have like a space of uncomfort. This is like a I'll just say like unsafe, not, this is like the crossing of the boundary, let's call it that. And I feel really thankful because now, again, where I'm working, there are two people, a male and a female coworkers, and I get to see this like dynamic and observe it in real time. And I learn a lot about, maybe the male isn't being as professional, and the female seeing the male crossing certain professional boundaries and having to warn him, and sometimes how he takes that, and so that's another thing when it comes to people are crossing your boundaries. Maybe they're saying something about your religion or your faith or, your belief system or your manifestations or just who you are as a human being. And you feel that they're crossing a certain boundary. And what is that really? Well, let's say that hypothetically, these are all zeros because this is the external, which you cannot really prove until you experience it. So those are all zeros. These are false. As soon as you go into your aura, that's what your reality is made out of. Those are ones. So this is true. So you have this battle between what is true, what is false. And in the middle, you have this idea of people are giving you suggestions. Hey, your singing isn't that good. And they're pushing against your boundaries. I shouldn't say crossing boundaries. I'll say pushing boundaries because they haven't crossed yet, right? And somebody says, okay, you're not a good singer, and you have this, they're pushing your boundaries of what you believe to be true or not. And if you accept that, then that becomes a part of your reality, right? It's something that you've allowed into your aura. It then becomes a one for true, and it's no longer something false. It's something that you've experienced and you've accepted and is a part of your belief systems. Sometimes I need time to figure out where my boundaries should be. Yeah, I think that's what this video is for, Grand Strategists. We're out here hopefully figuring it out, and I think that's why as much as, and especially in the past few years, like my boundaries have really been tested, and it's been kind of a like tumultuous journey. Ooh, big word. And it's actually helped me a lot with forming where my boundaries are and what I will accept and what I will not accept, what I will tolerate and what I will not tolerate. And I am really I really appreciate the things that have happened in my life as much as I did not appreciate them at the time. Wholeness, what's up, Kin 199? So this is really, when it comes to speaking, we're going to talk a little bit about like, okay, this is our throat chakra, and our throat chakra is all about judgment. Again, going back to that idea of what is true, what is false, how do you judge what that person is saying? really, when I think about judgment, I just think about a sword. I think about an iron sword because it's like this magical item and that's used for communication. What is mightier, the pen or the sword? Um, well, it also reminds me of that quote, so I guess that's why I said it. But yeah, it's about decisions. It's about being very decisive with what you believe to be good or bad. Obviously, everything is both. It's up to you and your perspective, which is a part of judgment. You have your perspective, and based off of your, how you're looking at things, that's how you're going to judge them, and that's how you're going to decide where to put them. If you decide that this is true for me or this is false for me. And so that goes back to the ones and zeros, that goes back to people pushing your boundaries. They say something that is controversial to you and your belief systems, immediately we're going to go into the judgment zone. Okay, like no judgment, pun intended. It's just a part of our human nature, and that's totally cool and that's totally fine. Being aware of this is important because at the end of the day, your judgments should help you make very clear decisions on where you want to be. And so, to Grand Strategist, what you said about figuring out your boundaries where they should be, your judgment and when people do push on your boundaries directly helps you figure out where your boundaries actually are. So, what do you accept to be true? Do you take what everybody says and allow it to be true for you? Is that a part of your, processing of how you set your boundaries? And I don't think there's any right or wrong way to set boundaries. We're all different and unique and have our experiences, and we're meant to have them and accept what is ours to accept or not. So of course, like I'm not even gonna get too much into news casting and stuff like that, but of course the communication is so important, and to get people to believe that this goes beyond just the outer world, but they have to push past their boundaries into their inner circle, because once any word, any idea, any thought is in your inner circle, it can become a reality much more easier. Like, the odds of it being a reality are like the difference between I wanted to say something like randomly selecting a Powerball number versus watching the Powerball number, then going back in time to that day and then selecting your Powerball number. Okay, like the chances I forgot where I was going with that. Okay, we're gonna move on. All right, cool. So that's communication. That's the mind, right? A big part of boundaries are the mind. Judgment is important. When people are pushing on your boundaries, you have to see that as a good test of your boundaries. Always, always, always see when people are pushing on your boundaries as a way to strengthen them and to sharpen them, because all right, there are a couple different kinds of people out there. Some people are going to get super defensive, so whenever somebody pushes on their boundary, they shut down immediately. Everything becomes a zero. Nothing that you say will apply to them because they're not listening. They're in another world. All right, they're disassociating. Then you have the type of people that are like, maybe they genuinely want to understand your point of view. They want to understand why you would bring this controversial idea or topic or suggestion to them. And so even though you are pushing their boundaries, they may be open and accepting to it because, hey man, that's the nature of their boundaries and where they are. And each one of these have a specific, let's look at the aura now, a specific way. So if you are very strong set on your boundaries, guess what your aura is going to look like? It's going to look bright. It's going to look hard, impenetrable. You're not getting through that, okay? This is the defensive, like, all right. Nobody can tell you what you know is not true because it is, and that's totally fine. Then you have the ones in between, and you can kind of see I'm kind of like making them waver a little bit. Like, these people are open to understanding because they're fluctuating with certain ideas, principles. They're trying to figure out what is true for them, and so they're open to you presenting, your own opinions, your own ideas on how the world works. And yeah, my boundaries change sometimes. We should take what people say to improve and examine to see if they are right. Yeah, and sometimes there is no right or wrong, right? Sometimes there's just a simple message to be understood in that moment and then release it. And so I feel like it's pretty good to have this kind of wavering boundary where you're able to identify the points that are absolutely not applicable to you, but also have points of opening to learn, to understand, and to let that sink in so that you can expand your horizons, your comfort zones, break through limiting beliefs. I think it's so important, and it's pretty hard to balance between the true and the false, balancing between healthy and unhealthy boundaries sometimes. And then, of course, on the end, you have like, I'm just gonna put like dots because it's so easy to convince somebody otherwise, to change their whole identity because they don't really have a set boundary. And I think for you have to like choose where your energy goes and where it flows at the end of the day. There are going to be certain things that you highly believe in that are true. Maybe it's your religion for you or your soul origin story. Whatever that is, those are impenetrable. You're not going to get through that. Then you have the more general sense of where most people's boundaries are, where they're like fluctuating, things that you may care about a little bit more. How you're perceiving reality, certain healing modalities, whatever it is for you, it's gonna be a kind of fluctuating point. And then there are certain things that you just don't know about or care enough about to really have a boundary around it. And so that's kind of why it's so easy for other people's opinions, ideas to successfully penetrate through. And so we're not like compromised. Like we have all three of these. They're all in us, maybe in different areas. Maybe for you, you really protect your vision for the future. And so your third eye is like impenetrable. But hey, you could definitely use some suggestions with really grounding that in. So your root and your solar or your sacral, they're more open to it. So that's kind of where we're at, and my understanding of auras and boundaries and penetrating them, as well as just a healthy balance between maintaining your aura and your boundaries. It's good to have shields, but we don't want shields to be too strong towards friend friendlies friendlies friend lies. Okay, see you, see you, grand strategist. Okay, so yeah, sometimes things will come up, right? And you'll get triggered. Nobody will mean to push your boundary, but they'll say something, and the reason why you get triggered is because judgment is created from past events. It's created from past events. Babies aren't probably good judges because they haven't experienced enough to really determine what's good and what's bad. Once maybe they touch the stove, they'll be like, okay, touching the stove, probably bad. Not touching the stove, probably good. So judgment plays a really important role when it comes to trauma. And trauma, we all have trauma, okay? Like we all have trauma in one way or another. Maybe you accidentally, I don't know, dinked your bumper of your car, okay? You gave your car trauma, all right? That's gonna stay there until you either get that out or replace it. Same thing with humans. We have trauma, and trauma plays a crucial role when it comes to judgment and also what we allow to go into our aura or what we don't allow to go into our aura, what we deem to be true or false. And this can be a little bit tricky because trauma can be a little bit tricky. There are times where, of course, what pretty much happens is that we're like, okay, that's on the other side of reality for me. It's not true for me. But it's almost like trauma does this thing where it like breaks through. It literally breaks through whatever shields, whatever you had. It will go through to the other side and let you know that this is true. And of course, there are a lot of different ways that we deal with trauma, okay? Like, I also like lines and waves, yeah. Some people, sometimes it's so severe that even if it does come through the aura, they will mask it with a 0, and this can be really confusing for like functioning and having healthy boundaries with yourself, because you're confusing what's true and what's not, because you didn't want to accept this horrible truth that happened to you. And so because of that, you're just deeming it to be false. You're like crossing out that could ever be a possibility, even though this horrible thing happened to you, and you're saying no, that's not true. And this does happen, and sometimes people, they lose memories, they don't want to think about it. It's a coping mechanism to keep them feeling safe, so that they don't, close up and have these ginormous walls. Usually you won't have these ginormous walls before trauma, but after trauma you absolutely will, because you've created this idea that, okay, if that is false, even though, you know technically speaking it's true, you have to create even bigger walls to protect yourself from that trauma ever repeating. And so it's very hard to now function with a healthy boundary around whatever the trauma that was caused in your life, because you created this giant wall. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to break through. All right. So communication can really trigger a lot of that, depending on where you are, where your aura is, and what's going on. And I think the most important thing is when that happens, you have like this big wall that comes with trauma. And then, of course, you'll have like some smaller ones. But it's kind of in the reverse. Notice how, like, now you're not as accepting. It's kind of like it flips. Instead of you focusing on what is true for you, you start obsessing over what's false. So yeah, that happens. Boundaries are weird. We're really diving into it. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, processing what goes through. Why is it so important for us to process what goes through? Well, when we do, we'll take this trauma for instance, and we'll just like bring up a cord over here. What's actually happening is that we're unfurling all of the horrible things that happened. Instead of keeping them coiled up, we're giving them an opportunity to come through. And sometimes that can only happen by reopening that wound, obviously. And you'll just see a lot of things start pouring out for the best. All right, so again, boundaries are really interesting because in the trauma case, we'll make boundaries in order to protect ourselves, but they're actually harming us more than helping. And so it is really important to kind of evaluate where you might have set certain boundaries to keep yourself safe, but are actually doing the opposite, are actually stifling your growth because they're not allowing you to open up and to see the truth of what has happened to you and what is good, in the chaos. All right, so that's with the mind. That's all I think I have to say on the mind. There was so much going on in my mind. Like the other day, somebody said something that kind of like triggered this moment of vulnerability I had. That really was kind of traumatic. How it unfolded, and how somebody took for granted the boundaries that I hadn't really fortified in myself. And so as soon as they said that, it really did ignite and spark a lot of things that I think, I was kind of hurting and didn't want to accept about myself. But, hey, it's a part of healing, and it's a part of understanding the process and getting better so we can have better boundaries. Whoa, the think flow is fire. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for thinking so. So now that we talked about that, let's dive into it a little bit more. I just saw The Force Awakens, and wow, they actually depict shields working, actually blocking shots for once. We want to block out evil, but we don't want to block things that can help us heal. Exactly. And so that's why I think it's so important to know which way your aura is facing. Here, it's kind of, let's do a little drawing right here in this corner. You could have a nice straight aura, and then let's say vibes are coming from this angle. If it's already, think of it as like a questionnaire for if you're eligible for something, like donating blood. Don't ask me why that's the first thing I thought of. Okay, I think the first question they ask is something like, "Are you anemic?" And then, "What's your weight?" And then any other medical conditions that they should know about. I don't know why this is literally why out of all. Maybe it's the vampire thing. But if they just start with, I don't know, the least relevant one, like, "Are you ready to give blood?" And then they go through, like, "Wait, can you actually give blood?" That's not very efficient. But that's kind of what happens when trauma comes, right? This new vibe comes in. You already have a wall up. It can't go through the other, the other ones that you have, because your aura is kind of facing in like a turtle shell. But let's take this for example. When you have a nice thin kind of layer first, very easy for those outer particles to kind of interact and to get that first vibe, right? Because you're open. You're not immediately going into defense mode, that's why we're depicting it this way. You go into defense mode, you don't even give the vibes a chance to really share the message that they're there to share. But when we open up and we're still kind of in a receiving mode, we're a little bit curious, then we can have this like, okay, I'm open to it, and then you can go into the deeper layers of your aura where it's more okay wavering, certain areas are more protected than others, and maybe of course you might have different areas where you very highly protect them, and that's totally good. But yeah, having that flexibility is so important. And I think that's what can help you grow a lot faster. Literally, because this energy right here, let's pretend this is like one energy dot. It's going to add to your whole, I don't know, your let's say your emotional or a flower. And in this case, it's gonna help it grow because you're adding more energy, you're understanding what truth is for you, you're expanding, you're open, you're flowing, you're free, versus the other one where you're very much defensive and rigid, and it actually takes a lot of energy out from you because you're literally drawing that energy out. You're taking those little bits and you're pushing them to be in the defense. Okay, all right. I think you guys got the idea. I think that's good depiction. But yeah, you want your little aura flower to grow and to produce more beautiful experiences for you, because okay, those flowers are actually manifestations. They're experiences that you're going to have in the world. Your aura is just simply bringing you to the areas that are most in tune with where you are in the world right now. So let's move on to the body, shall we? So the body is really, really interesting. So first I'm going to just start off with, we're going sideways for this one. I love doing these little drawings with you guys. I feel like they're so fun. And at the end, we get to see like this really interesting drawing. We'll actually use a different color for this one, just to show like we have the throat chakra, which is playing a super important role when we talk about boundaries, and we have the solar plexus, which is also playing a really, 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 really important role. And I'll add the root chakra because I don't know where we'd be without that one. Oh, primary colors, cute. All right, so we're talking about boundaries, and I point these out to show what they really mean. So our throat chakra, that's gonna act as our sword, okay? Sometimes you have to be the one on the offense. You gotta be the one that is expanding somebody by sharing energy, and that could be pushing their boundaries, technically speaking, if you're sharing energy. Or if you are wanting certain energy, you're pushing on somebody's boundaries. Anyways, the throat chakra is very important for discerning what energy you are looking to receive. So when people are pushing your boundaries, they're saying, hey, do you want to go to this thing? Hey, I think that's, you should stop doing this. whatever it is. Hey, I think you shouldn't waste your time on whatever. You gotta have your sword ready, right? You gotta have your sword ready to swing, because why are they coming at you, violating your boundaries, saying that this, that, and the other thing? All right, so have a clear communication, be clear on your judgment. You want to make sure that you're checking their vibes, where are they coming from, and then move forward with that understanding. So that's what the throat chakra is for. Ugh, I feel like I gotta make it blue because, okay, it's glowing blue now. I hope you're happy. Talking to myself, I guess. Then you have the beautiful actual ability to defend yourself with the shield. Okay? So important that you have the shield. So the shield is really important. This is your solar plexus. This is your ego. Okay? We are now talking about the ego because we're talking about the body. And I feel like the ego and the body, both very vain things that as humans we have and we value very much. Or maybe you don't value your ego. I mean, I don't know. But our ego is usually a depiction of our identity. It's glorified or romanticized, or however you want to say. It's blown up because it's our experience, and that's something that we probably don't really pay attention to, but it's something that a lot of everybody else pays attention to a lot and does, is a depictor of all of the actions that we take. So we're all children of the Lord to be. But yeah, the whole idea of the shield, right, is just you gotta defend your ego. So yeah, our solar plexus, it's connected to what we value. It's connected to our willpower, our motivation, and our drive, our instinct, our gut. So we want to defend the things that are of our gut, especially when, and I think this is something that I know has happened to me a lot. People kind of push my boundaries in a way where they ask me questions that almost make me doubt myself and what I am, you know? And so that's why the shield is so important to have. You want to have a solid identity, sense of who you are, what you value, because that is going to protect you from so many things that you don't need. You don't need to manifest, you don't need to spend your time on. Your time is the most valuable thing. Blocking the bullshit is the best thing that you can do. All right. And so, yeah, again, having a good shield is so important. Nobody here is like impenetrable. But our solar plexus really helps us identify what it is we value and stay strong in that. So, and this is also the fire that comes through, and it's good that we're holding the shield with this kind of fire because we won't hurt others. We won't, violate their boundaries, but it's purely used just to protect our own sense of identity and what it is we value and really want in this world, in this life experience. Because God, the reason I'm making this is because so many people are going to come at you, they're going to ask you questions, and they're going to want your energy. And quite frankly, if it's not aligned with your values and what you're here to do on earth, you can say no. And this is what I'm learning and I'm making this whole video about. And this month I'm like intentionally practicing saying no more often, just to build that kind of that strength in who I am, and that I don't have to say yes to everything to be liked or to feel safe. And so this is where root the root chakra really comes into play when we talk about this, because these are like your shoes. Okay, let's make them booties. So cute. Okay. And why are these important? Because you want to have good footing and you want to know when to walk away from things that aren't for you. Okay, you need to know when to walk away, and sometimes people are going to keep talking at you, the news is going to keep hounding you down. You got to have the judgment to cut that bullshit and walk away, because nobody's going to tell you, especially an energy vampire, especially somebody who wants you to do something. They're not going to tell you to walk away, but you can literally just walk away, and that is the ultimate, you could say, peaceful protection of your boundaries. The best thing that you can do is walk away because it's not in alignment with your energy, with your aura, what you're here to manifest. And if that's the case, you don't need to entertain it. You can walk away or you can kick that shit to the curb. So that's why we are using the boots to represent the root chakra. And so with that, that is like a little talk about the body. I love it. And a few things. So, ooh, friends said even recently, well, you know what? I put on the armor of the Lord. In this case, you want to have the sword, the shield, and the boots, all right? Because we're walking, and you guys, if you're watching this, you have a mission. It's very, very clear. It's very clear to me that the reason I make these videos is because God has people here on earth that are here to do something very specific and glorify Him in some way. And the reason why I'm making this video is really because there are a lot of energy vampires out there that will mess with you, that will make you maybe waste years of your life on something that does not matter to you because you have let them enter into your aura. They have penetrated your boundaries, and it's a little hard. That whole saying, a vampire can't come into your house unless you invite them in. That's pretty much what this whole video is about. And so, with that being understood, really valuing your time and energy is so important. All right. And once they're in, you might need these tools in order to kick them out. Okay. So, yeah, we'll keep that in check. All right. That's all right. Regarding advice from them, which I think is really partially true, but I would be twisted in weird directions if I took their advice exactly how and when they think I should. That's good. That's good that you are practicing discernment and you're taking what is valuable to you. You're cutting this stuff that it does not pertain to you, and you're moving forward with that. And that's beautiful. Floating giant stones from ancient Egypt. Oh, very. Oh, you guys are having a ball in the chat. I love that. Yeah. Know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away. That's perfect. Yeah, nice. All right. So the body is great. I think that's pretty good. What else could we talk about with the body? I think body language is really important. I don't really know how to portray that, but yeah, body language is very important in terms of actually being aware of your body, because it's your body, nobody else's. All right, nobody can really feel how hard you are cringing other than you. You can definitely feel when you're cringing. You can definitely feel when you feel angry or upset or triggered by something somebody says, which again, a trigger is just when somebody rubs against the trauma in the past that is now reawoken. So awareness is so important. I think the biggest things I can say when it comes to the body are know who you're spending your time with. Something like, there's you. You're like a little dot. Adorable. And then there's gonna be like, let's say 5 people around you, and these are like your direct influences, okay? They're like very much influencing maybe what you eat, what you buy, how you talk, your humor. Those are the 5 people. They are a part of your aura because you probably deem these 5 people to be true. Okay, they're like everything that they say is probably true. They're like, this restaurant's really good. You're probably gonna be like, bet, nice, true, great. Okay, and then let's go on to like, I think it's like 15 people now. So 15 people. These could be like your working colleagues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, and these are the people that you enjoy socializing with. Maybe you text them often or are communicating with them to some extent. Maybe you're on a sports team and you have to work and collaborate with them. Maybe they're your business partner. So many things that these people could be. And now this is when we start really seeing like, and of course, like in your main circle, most of the things people say are true, but there are still like some things that you're like, all right, that doesn't really apply to me. So when we get to this outer layer, I don't really want to draw all of their bodies, but you're gonna have like a lot more, yeah, a lot of things people are gonna say, they're gonna resonate, it's gonna be true, but you know, not everything's gonna resonate. Some things you're gonna be like, no, I don't see the world the same way you do. You know, this could be from people with the same religion as you, but you just don't believe the same intention for the religion as they do, whatever it is, you know, or the way that the world works, or how people should live their lives, whatever it is, you're gonna find some more like things that aren't really true. But again, this is good because having this diverse kind of, you know, set of energy and people in your space is gonna help you keep a flexible aura where you're able to really have good decisions and boundaries, right? You need that kind of false. You need that zero in order to understand what is true. So you're going to need people to test your boundaries in order to strengthen them and to know where to strengthen and how to strengthen, and you know where to soften and how to soften. So that's why it's so important. And then I think there's like something like 30 or 50 people in the next aura, which I don't know, maybe we can do it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Come on now. 30. Okay, so something like this. Of course, each person's going to be different. You know, yours going to look different. Do you... I don't know why, but it feels like it keeps spiritually aligning with you. What's up, fam? The inner circle. Yeah, and now these are where you might have more of like, right? Here you might have family. Here you might have like friends. You might have your best friend in your closest circle. You might have some acquaintances as you go out, some coworkers, mentors, people that you enjoy spending time with, or you find yourself spending a lot of time with. And then here on the outer circle, this could be like, you know, relatives, acquaintances, maybe just like a coworker, you know, people that you're not very close to, but still are a part of your everyday life and are a big factor in your reality, and you know, maybe more than you know. So again, because you don't really know these people, they might have really different beliefs than you. I know like where I'm working now, there's like about 60 people, but I only work closely with 2 of them. So I know that maybe their belief system's a little bit different. Like I believe that we shouldn't use pesticides and we should find natural ways to like control the environment through like using more predators that are naturally already there. That you don't have to use so many chemicals. But a lot of people disagree with me on this. Um, you know, and I don't really interact with them, but they would be in like that outer circle, and I'd still, you know, bump into them because they're still a part of my reality, and I have to be respectful, of course. But this is maybe when the, you know, the second wave of protection, because you'll have people in that closer circle that will align with a lot more of your beliefs, and they might, you don't even have to think about it. You know, let's take the idea of, I don't know why high school is coming through, but let's say high school. I have a story. In high school, I was homeschooled up until high school, and when I first went into the school system, the public school system, I was horrified. I mean, I was so excited to make friends because I really did not have any. I would literally wait for the mailman to come get the mail just so I could like have social interaction for the day. And so when I went into high school, I was like super duper excited. And then lunch came around and I was super duper nervous because I didn't have anybody to sit with at lunch and all the tables were taken. So what did I do? I took my lunch to the library and I ate in a corner, and my neighbor actually ran into me and she asked me why I was eating my lunch in the corner. And I said, because I don't know anybody at lunch. And she walked me to the cafeteria and she's told me to find somebody to sit with. And so I found another lonely kid at the lunch table and I sat with them. And I pretty much sat with them for all 4 years of my my high school career. But what I do remember, the week that I started sitting there, this random girl who knew my brothers from Boy Scouts came up to me during assembly, for I think it was like freshman assembly, and she said, the person that you're sitting next to is really weird, and you shouldn't sit next to them because they're like really weird. Like, they acted like a dog in middle school. Like, you should not sit next to them. And I was like, first off, I didn't really talk to this girl, but she was like, I'm gonna like warn her about the weird girl she's sitting next to. You could say she was like, if we were taking the circle, she was like over here. She was like an observer, and there are a lot of them, especially if you make content. There are a lot of like people that are observing you. But just in daily life, maybe a neighbor. These people are watching you from afar. Maybe they know somebody, in your outer circle, however it goes, but they observe you, and they're looking for a way to penetrate into your space. And it's so funny. So this girl was observing me, and she warned me about, the person that's sitting next to you is a little weird, and I shouldn't sit next to them anymore. And of course, I ignored her, and I didn't. And I thought it was really weird that she felt like she had to warn me about something so trivial like this. But this is an example of somebody that's like trying to push your boundaries for whatever reason so that you can see things in their way, in their light, that what they're saying is true. And I honestly just said, okay, cool. And I think that was the end of the conversation, because I did not know, like, I was just learning how to socialize and interact, and then they hit me with this curveball. I don't even know how to take it. So yeah, right? So they're spitting their truth. You can see these all as ones, and they're like one, 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 one. They're trying to get through to your aura so that you can see what they're seeing for whatever reason. Go on your own way. All right, my friend, just keep going on your own way, because you'll always have people that are observing you, judging you for whatever reason. I mean, we all have the sword. We all have judgment as a tool. And sometimes it could be good, like in survival situations. Hey, don't go that way. There's a wild boar that will eat you alive unless you're ready. That's good, okay? You appreciate it very much. But in this day and age where attention is so valuable and your time is so important, I think it's really important for you to have a good idea of who's in these circles. In the outer circles, it's definitely harder to penetrate, but towards the end, it's like super easy. Maybe person number 64 in your outer circle could be like change every week, depending on your life. So if you're wanting to manifest anything, you have to realize that these people may change. If their beliefs are not aligned with what you're wanting to create, they're going to change. You can't be living a reality where the things that you deem to be true are true, and the people in your circles are deeming them to be false. This could be something as simple as, you can't live off grid. You're crazy. You're going to die. Obviously, if somebody in your circle is saying that, it's probably not the best idea to keep them in your circle while you're doing this manifestation, because their vibes are going to interact with yours, and certain things they say are going to deem true. It is up to you to understand that you choose what you believe is true. Okay. All right, that one was fun. So I am really vibing with this. I think this is cool. You found a friend, and why should someone else tell you what to do? To reach out to someone, we should. Absolutely. I'm still friends with this person to this day, and yeah, I don't know how the girl is doing, but really weird. Life is weird. So yeah, that's one thing they don't tell you about when you're manifesting. When you're pushing the boundaries of your experience. Now let's talk about this, because as you know, I think, like, if you ever listen to any self-help or development, they're gonna be like, here's your comfort zone. This is you. You're a bag of, you're you're a couch potato and you can't be a couch potato and get what you want. You need to like get off of your couch. Okay, I'm drawing a couch. Oh man, this is okay. That's my couch. Okay, your couch potato. This is your comfort zone. Okay, it's your comfort zone for a reason. And you could look at it, it's perfect. All of your energy is flowing most optimally right now, okay? It's awesome. But if you're ever wanting to manifest something, guess what? You're gonna need people to question what you're believing to be true. You're gonna need people to push past your boundaries. You're gonna have to push past your boundaries, okay? So now we're getting into the more like proactive, okay, instead of protective. You know, how do we push past our boundaries? So this is really cool because our comfort zone, yeah, it is very much like a tight space. This is what we believe to be true, like 100% of the time. Like, see truth above all else, okay? And then outside of that, you have the familiarity zones. So these are things that you're familiar with. Okay, so our familiarity zone is like looking out the window, you could say. It's like the first step to getting out of the couch. You gotta know that there's something beyond that you're still familiar with. So let's take the example of you want to manifest like so much money you never have to work a day in your life. Okay, cool. Right now you're working at McDonald's and it's okay money, but you know it's consuming because you have to focus on your shifts and the time that you're there is kind of chaotic, and you know you have a habit, a routine, maybe you have like a work family. I know sometimes those form, and it's kind of comfy, and you think you might be able to get like a manager position, and if you just keep working, and it's like it's a good zone, you know, you go to work, you come back, you can, you know, take, I don't know, as many french fries as you want, then you can go home, you can play your games, you can watch your videos. It's a chill life, but you know that you want to make enough money that you never have to work another day in your life. Sometimes there's this little spot, let's go deep into the couch, and this is called the this is gonna be called the uncomfortable comfort zone. It's when things are too close. I'm just gonna say it's a box. Oh my god. Okay, we put that in there. And this is like literally you feeling trapped because you're too much in your comfort zone. Alright, so this is usually how it goes. You're fine in your comfort zone because it's big enough. But if you go in closer, you can actually see that it's not enough. So we'll take the example, okay, working at McDonald's. You know, I want you to ask yourself if you were that person. You either see somebody who you went to school with or a coworker that quit working at McDonald's like a year ago, and now they're going all in on their passion and what they love to do. And all of a sudden your comfort zone doesn't feel big enough and you feel trapped. And so sometimes this is needed, right? Sometimes your boundaries literally have to almost suffocate you for you to like bounce out of this place where you felt comfortable and know that that's not enough anymore. I need to push past that. And know this is temporary. Like your comfort zone's gonna change, and I give myself like 2 weeks before I settle into a habit. So if I go anywhere, I know that as soon as I come back, I have about 2 weeks to a month, depending on how much I move around my space, before I start developing habits and routines and I'm back in a comfort zone. So I've been working at, you know, as a horticulturist. I know that a lot of people there work there for life. Actually, I want to say 80% of the people there work there for life. They're happy, they're content, and that's cool. It's a good gig. But I thought about it, and what really helped me was thinking, in 5 years, do I still want to be here? Do I still want to be on the couch? If your answer is yes, then hey, stay in your comfort zone. But if you are looking for a place to expand and wait for you to really reach whatever it is on your heart that you want to bring into the world, then you're going to have to push past that. And so that uncomfy feeling of when you were too deep into your comfort zone, when you're sinking into your couch, that's the kind of energy you need to kind of bounce back out, okay? And so you want to get excited, you want to have that familiarity, okay? So cool. In this case, you know that you want to not work another day in your life, make enough money. Who do you know that has done that? What caused you to think that this could happen for you? You want to get familiar with the scene around you and what's beyond. Because guess what? It's gonna be like a lot of uncomfy, let's just say like work, okay? Because I feel like work as humans, our brains even are lazy in the way that they make neural patterns and they literally indent our brain so that it takes less energy for us to think and to do certain habitual things. Our body is wired to probably not like work that much, okay? But you gotta work. It's gonna take energy and it's gonna be uncomfy. There are gonna be days where you're like, this is hard, and it should be, okay? It should be hard because you're pushing past, okay? Push. And so this is when you're gonna be faced with a lot of, here in your comfort zone, everything is true. Here with where you're familiar, you see most things are true. Maybe like 1 out of 10 things aren't true. Here in like this unfamiliar zone, maybe 1 out of 10 things are true to you. So it's like the reverse. So most things are not going to be true to you because they're foreign. You've never met somebody in this hypothetical situation working at McDonald's that has, retired at age 30. And so that wasn't a belief system that you had until maybe you met it. You pushed yourself to find people that are living the life that you want. So you're literally pushing past your boundaries. You're going beyond that. And like I'm using a small example of I want to help grow community gardens. And I'm pushing past a small boundary of like just reaching out to my local library to help them grow theirs. And a part of me felt like I wasn't official enough, to reach out to them to do this. And this was just like a self-limiting belief that I had within myself. And I was familiar with other people working with the library, but it wasn't something that I had ever done. And it was definitely beyond my comfort zone of just working on a garden at home. So I think that's pretty much what helped me was to go back in time and think if I don't reach out to the library and help them with a garden, who will? Will they have a garden or will I be able to? Who's going to learn from that if not me? All right. So I want to learn from it. I'm going to push myself to do that. And yeah, I'm pushed beyond my comfort zone by a friend having written a book and planning more. And Esther's Eco Chamber project challenges me to keep going with my own project outside of my 40-hour job. I'm so happy, Grand Strategist. That is fantastic and very impressive. Congrats, bro. Yo, you're a damn good farmer yourself. That's pretty awesome. And yeah, so I'm finding things that I'm familiar with and things that I'm unfamiliar with, and I'm pushing myself to just understand them more and be comfy with people challenging what I'm doing. Like, hey, you're not holding a shovel right. There's the easier way to shovel. Okay, cool, awesome. Thank you so much. I want to learn how to dig holes more effectively so I'm not breaking my back. Small, tiny things, but so important. And so this is gonna just be my last thing, okay? Whether it's true or false, right? Whether it is true equaling 1 or false equaling 0. Little things matter. Like, literally. Because guess what? Everything is made out of little things that are called matter. And they're super duper important. Even the tiniest bit of belief in one direction or the other matter. Recently, I don't know, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and I know that diabetes is something in my family that is just kind of hereditary. And, you know, practicing small ways to make sure that we're keeping ourselves in check and really keeping the sugar in check. And I've been very aware, and the same thing with salt, of the grains. How many grains of sugar am I eating a day? How many grains of salt am I eating a day? You know, how much am I sprinkling on my eggs or, you know, on my oatmeal for sugar? Like, what does that look like? And those little tiny, that matters. I was talking to my mom today about just, you know, the idea of, all right, you got a bottle and you can recycle a bottle for 5 cents, right? And how many cents does it take to be a millionaire now? Somebody let me know. I'm not gonna do that math right now. Okay, fine. I'm doing the math. I'm doing the math right now. You guys got me, okay? I don't need a calculator. I can do this, okay? Alright, we can do this. Okay, we can do this. How many cents make a dollar? 100. How many bottles? 20. Okay, so 20 bottles equals $1. So in order to be a millionaire, you would need 20 million bottles. Okay, that's good to know. 20 million bottles! You could probably... It's a lot of bottles, but you could probably do it. You could probably do it. Bro, you could... Okay, so just so you know, 20 million bottles equals 1 million. The little things matter, man. That's not that many. To be a millionaire, you just need to, like, recycle 20 million. This is an example, but that's making me laugh. Yeah, but at the end of the day, every single drop of water, every single emotion that you feel, these are all filling your cup. And your cup is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing that is for you to experience. Yeah, we're on the right wavelength, okay? Matter is made of energy optimized by various frequencies, or the Lord holds the universe together by his word is another way to look at it. Absolutely. So every word, that's a beautiful way of seeing it. Every word is a drop in your cup, in your experience, in what you are sipping on to sustain yourself. And that's pretty cool that you can choose where you put your cup. So when it rains, you can collect the droplets you want. Maybe you put it under a tree. Maybe you put it out in the open. Maybe you put it underneath shelter. Whatever it is, it's important. Okay, this is reminding me of a story of kind of how fear plays a factor into our boundaries. And it will be a story about a cup. So you have two men. Both of them are given a cup of water. God blesses them with this cup of water. And he says, you know, take care and use it wisely. One of the men sip the water. They drink it. It's beautiful. And, you know, the other man sees this man, like, elating. And he is just, like, feels so alive with the water of the Holy Ghost. The other one sees this cup and puts it on a pedestal in a way that he sees it as a Holy Ghost, and is so fearful of anything happening to this cup or anybody drinking it that he hides it away. And so he dies of thirst. So I guess this is just to go to say that sometimes you just gotta, like, you gotta mess up. You gotta be okay with messing up a little bit here and there, because ultimately it's for a reason. The little things matter. Your energy matters. Your time matters. And oh man, it's so important. So back to this idea of boundaries. Every droplet, every word, every energy going in your way, those are you have like an umbrella, but it's like a special umbrella, right? It's not just gonna like let everything. It's gonna protect you for sure, but it also can give you what you need. Like, it can give you the water that you need to drink. So yeah, your aura is like this little umbrella. You can choose what you could say, like, what kind of water that you want to add to your cup so that you can drink it and have more life. And that's how we're gonna see it. That's how we're gonna see it for today. It's all about, ooh, that's a creepy face. It's fine. It's fine, guys. It's all about giving yourself the opportunity to be wise with who and how you are allowing the little things in your life to be processed. What you're allowing to kind of just flow off the umbrella, whatever people are saying, whatever is happening in the world, to flow off your umbrella, and what you're choosing to sip on, what you're choosing to consume and to create with. So I guess at the end of the day, if we were to do a little if we were to do a little summary of what we learned today, the worst part, okay, hell yeah, I did math and it did not take that long. Thank you. Hyenas around that they won't let you take an L without giving you shit for it, just to have to be indifferent to the outcome and keep improving. Yeah, there are always going to be souls out there that we could classify as energy vampires. We're all energy vampires sometimes, all right? We all sometimes need energy that maybe we struggle with finding within ourselves. Sometimes. Okay, maybe not all the time. Maybe for you, maybe like once in your life when you were a baby and you don't even remember, all right? Whatever, that's cool. But a lot of the times we will, in this world and at this time, you'll meet a lot of people that are looking to empty your cup when their cup itself has not been fixed. So I guess this is just a reminder that, you can have cracks in your cup, but you have to be aware of how much you can fill your cup then. And you have to take small steps. And that you can fix your cup, but it's going to require you to first empty it. And not try to fill it back up, because you can't fix a full cup. You have to empty it. So if your cup is broken, if you feel like you're struggling with, building the kind of boundaries that you want, bringing the energy that you want to experience in the world into realization, evaluate your cup. Maybe there was some trauma there. Maybe something broke it. Something messed with it. Maybe you dropped your cup. Whatever it is. Take time, empty it out into vessels that you can trust, into people that will give you back that energy, and take a little time and like pray to God. Just be like, God, I feel broken. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm focusing on the wrong things, and I want to, I want to be full of good things. I want to have the energy to focus on just the things that are for me and just the things that you've brought me here to see. And if this is a part of it, then thank you. Please help me fix this cup so that I can pour again from a full overflowing cup, and that I can feel that and experience it, and that I can pour onto others. And God will hear you for sure, 100%. And so that you can continue to collect, from your experiences and sip on the literal, like, the holiest of experiences, which is life, and being able to choose how you live life, being able to choose how you perceive it, being able to choose how you spend your time and your energy. So I guess at the end of the day, I hope that you practice saying no a little bit more, and pausing a little bit more, opening your energy maybe in ways that you felt were not safe before, and really evaluating to see if that's true or not. The little things are so important, and I think it's so important for you to take time and acknowledge where you have come from and where you are going, those little things are so important. I've been kind of beating myself up a little bit about like not reaching any like significant milestones with like any of my businesses or brands. And personally, I am so thankful to be alive and where I am, but I felt a little bit discouraged. Um, and now I'm just kind of bringing myself back to a place where I'm at peace and I'm so thankful for what I have. Um, there were a couple of things that people said that, yeah, it definitely did like discourage me and made me feel like a little bit unsafe and like I had to put up walls and so that's why I'm making this video really to kind of again, I was aware that I was putting up walls and I wanted to kind of evaluate where, why, how can I go forward in a more giving, graceful way that I am safe to give. I am safe to pour through my cup and I know when to stop pouring in others so that I can refill my own and evaluate. So much love, so much love. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate vibing with you today, and all the wisdom that you shared is like so cool. I hope that you got something from this, and I'm just gonna take a quick moment to just pray to God openly and ask God to help us so that we can establish good boundaries within our own self, within our, in our families, our communities, our friend circles, in our workplaces. I pray that we have good boundaries set with time, with energy, with space, with our mind, any words that we say, even the little things that we may take for granted. I pray that God will help us and guide us and fill our cup up and give us what we need so that we can give to others. I'm so thankful that we can explore this together, that we have established what it is we are here to do, and that we have strengthened our aura and our boundaries in a way that opens us to experience more joy, more love, more light, and more peace in our lives. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you appreciated this. I really appreciated this time with you guys. You guys are awesome. This was such a beautiful vibe. Thank you for your wisdom. I hope to see you in the next one. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Because, this one's off the dome, bro. I just got triggered one day. Like, yesterday, and I was like, okay, we gotta make a video, and I did not know how it was gonna come out or how my mind was gonna even translate it. But you guys really helped a lot, and so I appreciate you so much. You guys are getting 2 thumbs up from me because I appreciate you, and